Hello friends, welcome back to WOW IAS. Welcome to the discussion on Vision IAS Social Issues PT 365 discussion. This is part 4 where we are going to finish this second chapter, Other Vulnerable Sections. Now let's begin the discussion. In this, the first topic what we have today is the elderly population of India. So recently, the Health Ministry has launched Decade of Healthy Aging, which is from 2020 to 2030 on the International Day for Older Persons, which is on the 1st of October. So remember, International Day of Older Persons is on 1st of October, and this Decade of Healthy Aging is also endorsed by the World Health Assembly in August 2020. So if you see about healthy aging, so WHO defines this healthy aging process is the process of developing and maintaining functional ability to enable well-being in the older age. That means in the older age also the people should meet the basic needs. Okay, and also they should be able to make basic decisions and be mobile, etc. So that is known as healthy aging. Okay, and this includes both the physical capacities as well as the mental capacities of the individual and the interaction with the environment. Okay, and if you see the healthy aging, it replaces WHO's previous focus on active aging, which is a policy framework developed in 2002. So the healthy aging has replaced the focus on active aging. So active aging is optimizing opportunities for health, participation and security to enhance the life quality. But in healthy aging, it is the all-round ability, the all-round capacity. Okay, and all of this is based on the, you can say this active aging, it is based on the Madrid International Plan Action of 2002. Okay, so now India is following this healthy aging and not active aging, so you have to remember this. If you see some of the initiatives taken by the government for elderly population, so according to constitution in the DPSP, it is article 41, which talks about to secure work, education and public assistance rights for the persons in case of employment, old age, sickness, disability and undeserved want. So that means it talks about the social welfare of all the vulnerable people, vulnerable sections. Next is the integrated program for older persons. This is to improve the quality of life of the older persons by providing basic amenities. And next one, you have the national program for healthcare of the elderly. National program for healthcare of the elderly, which is at various levels of primary healthcare settings. And next you have the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act of 2007. Next you have Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, under the central assistance in the form of pension is given, and Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana, which aids which actually provide aid and assistance in the living devices, and they are provided to the senior citizen belonging to the below poverty line category. So remember, Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana, so that means either the sticks or the hearing devices, so all those things are given to the senior citizens who are living below the poverty line. Next one, you have the Pradhan Mantri Vaya Vandana Yojana, which is mainly to provide social security during the old age. It's a kind of insurance scheme, you can say, and this is implemented by the LIC, the Life Insurance Corporation. Okay? So these are the two things which are more important. You have to remember Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Vaya Vandana Yojana. Next, you have elderly population and their status in India. So according to the 2011 census, if you see, there are 104 million elderly people. The elderly people means who are above 60 years in India. And if you see, in that 53 million are female and 51 million are male. 71% of elderly population, they reside in rural areas and only 29 reside in urban areas according to the 2011 census. So the old age dependency ratio, it is 14.2% in 2011, which increased from 10.9% in 1961. Now what is this dependence ratio? So dependence ratio is you can say it is the age population ratio of those not in labor and those in labor. That means people who are above 60 years who are not in labor, okay, and those who are in labor, that means 18 to 60. So people who are not in labor to people who are in labor. So 1 to 18 years and above 60 years, that means they are dependent population. So this ratio is known as dependent ratio. And if you see, Kerala has maximum elderly people and Dadar and Nagar Haveli has least. And the government is promoting silver economy as India's elderly population is increasing by developing residential infrastructure for the senior citizens, and also it is developing a market around the needs of aging population with the focus on innovation. So the government is trying to provide both houses as well as the other needs of the elderly population. So there is this act called the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act of 2007. This act ensures need-based maintenance for the parents and the senior citizens. So the child has to provide the need-based maintenance for the parents and the senior citizens, and the upper limit on the maintenance fee is 10,000 under this act. Okay, and any relative is any legal heir of the childless. You can say any relative. Sorry, and excuse me. Yeah. So a relative is any legal heir of the childless senior citizen who is not minor and has possessed or would inherit his property. That means a relative can be called as a legal heir because he will inherit that senior citizen's property. Okay. So the child or the relative shall deposit the amount within 30 days of the date of announcing of the order by the tribunal. So a tribunal will be set up which will give the order. Okay, so these are the major important things with regard to Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizen Act of 2007. So there is another important information which is in the form of Longitudinal Aging Study of India. Longitudinal Aging Study of India 1. So this is a national survey of investigation of health, economic and social determinants and consequences of population aging in India, and this is released by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. If you see the key findings, the number of elderly people will rise to 319 million in India by 2050, and 1 in 2 elderly suffer from some chronic diseases. 27% have multimorbidities, and around 40% have disability, and 20% have mental health related issues. 1/3 of the people above 45 years with the average per capita income of 44,901 suffer from hypertension and cardiovascular diseases. And 78% of elderly, they're neither receiving pension nor expected to receive it. So these are the populations, these are the problems of the elderly people. So most of the elderly people are suffering these diseases called the hypertension and cardiovascular diseases, which are becoming lifestyle diseases these days because of the rapid urbanization, etc. And also a lot of elderly people, they are not receiving any pensions because all these pensions are basically the social security benefits that the people will be getting at their old age, and especially the below poverty line people. Okay. So yeah, so just remember these important things. You can use these data even in your mains answer writing as well. So yeah, just focus on these things. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. So next one is the manual scavenging. So recently, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs have launched the Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge in 243 cities, which is mainly to end the manual scavenging by 2021. So under this Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge, the sewers and septic tanks in 243 cities will be mechanized. In about 250 cities, it will be mechanized, and a helpline setup will be set up to register complaints of manual scavenging. So the eliminating manual scavenging is one of the prime aim of the government, you can say, because the manual scavenging is basically taking rights away from those people who are cleaning it, and also they are facing various health related issues because of this type of manual scavenging. And the main aim of this is to prevent the life loss due to the hazardous cleaning, because in the pit holes, in the drainage holes, if you see, there will be a lot of unwanted gases and all, and these unwanted gases will directly affect the people who are going to clean it, and this is part of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So manual scavenging, if you see earlier, the manual scavenging means manual cleaning of human excreta. This used to be there used to be dry litter, and the manual scavengers, they used to go and clean it manually, and the scavenger crawl into dry litter and collecting these human excreta, okay, and carrying it off and disposing it off, somewhere in the outside of the village. That used to be there. So this is considered against the basic human rights. So that's why we have brought these acts. So if you see, there is this act called the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavenger and Rehabilitation Act of 2013, which prohibits manual scavenging and cleaning of sewers and septic tanks without protective equipment. Okay, and also the local authorities are responsible for identifying of the manual scavenging, and if anyone violates these rules, they will be imprisoned up to 2 years, and a fine will be levied of up to 12 lakhs. Okay, and also this act provides for rehabilitation of the manual scavengers, like a one-time cash assistance will be provided, scholarship for their kids will be provided, a residential plot will be allotted, and some financial assistance also will be provided for the construction of their house. And also along with these things, skill development training will be done with a stipend of about 3,000 rupees per month. So all of these things are basically to bring people out of this manual scavenging. So if you see this status of manual scavenging in India, the number of people who are engaged in manual scavenging is 54,130, and the highest number of dry and service latrines are there in Uttar Pradesh. If you see the household who are engaged in manual scavenging for livelihood, they are approximately 1,80,657 households according to 2011 census. And if you see the sewer deaths, there are about 1,870 sewer deaths which are reported from 1993 to 2019. That means in about 30 years, about 2,000 people died because of the manual scavenging. As these deaths could have been prevented, we should try to prevent them. So if you see the measures that are taken so far, they are constitutional or legal measures. Sanitation is a state subject and the states has to play an important role. The constitution bans untouchability under Article 17, and also under the Protection of Civil Rights Act of 1955, the manual scavenging is totally prohibited. So remember, under the Article 17 and Protection of Civil Rights Act of 1955, the manual scavenging is prohibited. The National Commission for Safai Karmacharis Act of 1993 looks into the matter of the welfare of the Safai Karmacharis. Okay, the Safai Karmacharis are nothing but the manual scavengers. The Employment of Manual Scavenger and Construction of Dry Litter Prohibition Act of 1993 declares that the manual scavenging and construction of dry toilets is punishable. So only the wet toilets has to be constructed. Right? So these are the important schemes. And if you see National Commission for Safai Karmachari, if you see its composition, there will be a chairman who has the rank of Union Minister of the State, and there will be 4 members including a lady member, and along with that a secretary will be there. So after 2004, the National Commission for Safai Karmachari has been acting as the non-statutory body. Earlier it was a statutory body, and this National Commission for Safai Karmachari is under the Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, and the tenure of the people who are working can be extended through government resolution till March 2022. Right? And also there are some sanitation schemes and rehabilitation schemes. You can just go through them because these are old schemes and they will not be asked directly in the exam. So you can just pause and go through this. And here another thing what we need to remember is the Bandicoot. Last year it was in news. It is a spider-shaped robot in Kerala that cleans manholes and sewers. So remember Bandicoot, which is a spider-shaped robot in Kerala. So next one what you have is the Sanitation and Hygiene Fund, SHF. The Sanitation and Hygiene Fund is launched by UN, and it is a global financing mechanism to fund countries with diseases due to lack of sanitation services. So as a lot of people died due to lack of sanitation services, this was launched, and it aims to raise about $2 billion in the next 5 years, and this is hosted by the UN Office for Project Services. Right? So if you see the objective of this Sanitation and Hygiene Fund, expanding household sanitation, ensuring menstrual health and hygiene, providing sanitation and hygiene in schools and healthcare facilities, supporting innovative sanitation solutions is one of the major objectives. We have this WASH strategy of WHO, which actually intends to increase the impact through transformational approaches and tackling new areas. Because cleaning, or you can say the sanitation, is very much important for the healthcare. So for maintaining the health of the people, the sanitation plays a greater role. And you have this Swachh Bharat Mission Academy. The Swachh Bharat Mission Academy is launched by the Ministry of Jal Shakti. Remember, Swachh Bharat Mission Academy launched by Ministry of Jal Shakti, an interactive voice response based training course, okay, which is with modules on the Open Defecation Plus program. So there are various modules for the training, and ODF Plus extension is the extension of ODF program under the Swachh Bharat Mission. Okay, and if you see this Swachh Bharat Mission Abhiyan, it will boost, Swachh Bharat Mission Academy, it will boost the capacity building effort in training the Swachhagrahis, the community based organizations, the NGOs, the SAGs, etc. So the main aim of this academy is to increase the skills or enhance the capacity building of the people who are involved in the Swachh Bharat mission. And you have the Swachhata Abhiyan app, which is launched by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Remember, Swachh Bharat Mission Academy is launched by Ministry of Jal Shakti, but the Swachhata Abhiyan app is launched by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. This is mainly to geotag data of insanitary litter and the manual scavengers. And also in this there is the help in replacing insanitary litter with the sanitary litter, and rehabilitated manual scavengers also is done under the Swachhata Abhiyan app. Okay, so these are the two things which we need to remember here. So now let's move on. So yeah, before that, this data also you need to remember. So UN Sanitation Fund, what is the total amount which is going to be collected, and some important things which we have discussed. Right, now let's move on to the next topic, modern slavery. This was in news. So 1 out of 130 female globally are in modern slavery. Now what is this modern slavery? So there is no universally accepted definition of this modern slavery, Okay, but it depends on the situation. If you say it, you can say it is the exploitation that the person cannot refuse or leave because of threats, violence, coercion, deception, or abuse of power. So that means if using all of these things, if any person is actually put into work, then that is known as modern slavery. There are various forms of modern slavery like human trafficking, forced labor, the debt bondage, the the decent based slavery, where people are treated as property and as their slaves, the child slavery including child trafficking, children soldiers, etc., forced and early marriages. So these are various things. And there are various mechanisms also to tackle human trafficking in India. If you see in India, the constitution talks about, or you can say the fundamental right, in fact, talks about the human trafficking. The human trafficking is banned according to Article 23. And we have various constitutional legislative provisions. If you see the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956, which is the premier legislation for prevention of trafficking for commercial and sexual exploitation. You have the Criminal Amendment Act of 2013, which provides for comprehensive measures to counter the menace of human trafficking, including trafficking of children. You have the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012, and you have the Bonded Labour Act of 1976. So these are the various acts. And if you see international conventions, India has ratified the UN Convention on Transorganized Crime, which has one of its protocols prevention, suppression, and punishment of trafficking in persons, particularly women and children. And also, India has ratified the SARC Convention on preventing and combating of trafficking in women and children. So, all these international conventions related to the human trafficking is ratified by India. So there is another information called with regard to modern slavery, which is released by Walk Free Foundation. So Walk Free is a foundation; it's an NGO, you can say. So the Global Slavery Index they will release, and it has reported that about 8 million people in India are in the form of modern slavery. 8 million people, that means approximately 80 lakh people, and 6.10 out of 1,000 are living in modern slavery. This is the average. 6.1 people out of every 1,000 people. And 55.49 out of 100 has vulnerability to modern slavery. So this is the data given by the Walk Free Foundation with regarding to India's slavery. Okay. So in response to the modern slavery, if you see, India has criminalized most modern forms of slavery. But if you see in India, there is no legislation which is criminalizing the use of children in the armed conflict. So recently we have seen the reports where it's suggested that a lot of about 19 lakh people, 19 lakh children are involved in the armed conflicts. So such things has to be avoided. In the Ujjwala and Swadhar, which is initiated by Ministry of Women and Child Development, they run shelters and rehabilitation services for rescued women. In 2016, the government's Central Sector Scheme for Rehabilitation of Bonded Labour has recognized the need of groups trapped in bonded labour and provides some compensation also. And the government has ratified two core ILO conventions, the 138, which is the minimum wage on employment, and 182, which is the worst form of child labour. We have already seen what these two are actually, and what are the conventions which are not ratified by India. We have seen that already in the previous lecture. If you haven't watched, just go and watch it. Okay. So next is the bonded labor. So bonded labor, if you see, so actually why this was in news is the Supreme Court asked the National Human Rights Commission to frame guidelines for protection and rehabilitation of victims of bonded labor. So bonded labor, if you see, it is prohibited under Article 21 and 23 of the Indian Constitution, which are the fundamental rights. Article 21 talks about the right to life, and Article 23 talks about right against trafficking, or you can say ban on trafficking. And Bonded Labor Abolition Act was passed in 1976. So in this bonded labor, one type is the forced labor. The ILO defines forced or compulsory labor as, this is the ILO definition, remember? So the work or service extracted from a person under threat of penalty and a person not offered himself or herself voluntarily. That means only under threat if a person is working and is not working voluntarily, and that is called as compulsory labor or forced labor. Okay, and we have legislations also. We have the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act of 1970, Interstate Migrant Workmen Act of 1979, the Minimum Wages Act of 1948. So under all of these legislations, we have banned the bonded labor. So the Bonded Labor Abolition Act actually provides for abolition of bonded labor system. It also talks about the implementation of the act by the concerned state governments and the union territories, and also it talks about the institutional mechanism at district level in the vigilance committees. and a three-pronged strategy is followed by the central government for the abolition of the bonded labor, which is the passing of the Bonded Labor Abolition Act of 1976, which is one, and the vigilance committees at the district and the sub-district level, and also rehabilitation of the bonded laborers is two. And if you see the rehabilitation of bonded labor scheme, where the center and the state contributes about 10,000 each for rehabilitation. So this is what is provided by the government. This is mainly for the abolition of bonded labor. So if you say domestic workers, so recently the domestic workers brought out manifesto demanding universal registration of employers and domestic workers and national legislation, because during the COVID-19, if you see, the domestic workers have faced all of these issues because they were denied earnings, they were not having any protective gear, they had the rightful access to information about virus and also the healthcare services. If you see, there are 85% of workers who have not received wages during the COVID-19 pandemic. As per ILO, the domestic work is housework, sweeping, cooking, caring of children, etc., which is carried out for remuneration. That means out for money. So the people who are working in these type of sectors, they are not registered. They work mostly as an unorganized in an unorganized way only. And if you see, the domestic workers, they are demanding for the implementation of an act for them. Okay, and there is no legislation currently that provides social protection, which mandates the fixing of wages and also maximum number of works that the national number of hours that they work every day. So the government has taken various steps earlier, which are the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, which Act of 2013. Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu has constituted a welfare board for the domestic workers who avail welfare benefit by registering. So Kerala, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu have constituted, but they are not constituted by other state governments. Okay. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is the urban poor. So if you see the COVID-19 pandemic, it has impacted the urban informal workers. In the urban poor, if you see, who are the people who are urban poor? They are the people who are working in unorganized sectors only. So during this COVID-19 pandemic, these people who are working in unorganized sectors were the worst hit. And most of the people who are working in unorganized sector, they are the migrant workers who came to the big cities in search of work from rural areas. Right? And during this COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen how they have suffered issues. If you see urban poverty, so Tendulkar committee said that rupees 1000 is considered as the baseline for urban poverty, and for rural poverty it is 816 rupees. But according to Rangarajan committee, the urban poverty is when people have the wages below 1407 rupees, and rural poverty is 972 rupees. Okay. So if you see urban poor in India, India's urban population is approximately 377 million and constitute 31.2% of total population. So currently about 31.2% are living in urban areas according to the 2011 census, and now after this next census this number will greatly vary. And also we have the Employment Guarantee Program, which strengthens right to life under Article 21 by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Right? If you see some of the government initiatives for the urban poor, in the housing and vulnerability section, if you see, we have the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban, which is for the building of houses for the people in urban areas, and development of affordable rental housing complexes is another thing. Next one, you have economic vulnerability, which is Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, the National Urban Livelihood Mission, which is launched by the government to cater to the needs of the backward classes in the society, you can say backward sections of the society. And also you have the Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation Act of 2014, which is to protect the street vendors. Next, when we talk about social vulnerability, you have Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and you have Atal Pension Yojana, the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandan Yojana, and you have the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. So these are the various schemes that were launched by the government over time. Okay? Guys, this data directly you can use in your mains answers, so just keep a note of this. Okay, if you can pause the video and take the screenshot as well. So next topic what we have is the migrant workers. So recently, the National Human Rights Commission has sought the Supreme Court to take matter into its own hands on the migrant crisis. Because if you see, everyone claims that the government has failed to solve the migrant crisis, as we have witnessed the migrants walking to their hometowns on the foot only directly. Because as we know, there are no trains, there are no buses, and there are no vehicles during this lockdown and all. And it is these migrants who face various issues. If you see some of the measures which are suggested, the measures are the provision to Interstate Migrant Workmen Act of 1979 has already some provisions related to the emergencies like COVID-19, natural disasters, etc., and they have to be implemented. The maximum benefits to the migrant labor as provided under Unorganized Worker Security Act of 2008, and also the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act of 1979 was there. The act enacted to regulate employment of interstate migrant workmen and provide fair and decent work conditions. They provide minimum wage similar to other workmen, the journey allowance, the displacement allowance, the residential accommodation, etc. And also it requires establishment hiring interstate migrants to be registered and licensed. Otherwise, the people who are interstate workers, they will be mostly, they can be exploited as well. Okay? So if you see some other initiatives for the migrant workers, we have this Interstate Migrant Policy Index, which is released by the Indian Migration NOW, which is the not-for-profit organization. So if you see here, it ranks and compares all the states based on the migrant policies. That is the important thing. And it examines policy areas like the child rights, education, health, sanitation, housing, political inclusion, etc. And you have the National Migration Information System, which is developed by the National Disaster Management Authority. And it actually is a central online repository on migrant workers to facilitate their seamless movement across the states. It would help in the speedy interstate communication and coordination. And it has various additional advantages like contact tracing, which may be useful in the overall COVID-19 response. And next one, you have the National Database of Unorganized Workers. So here the Ministry of Finance has set up this. Okay, and it is moved to the NDUW, National Database of Unorganized Workers. So this was set up by the Minister of Finance basically to register and to know where the migrant workers are available and from where they are coming. If the government has all the proper information, then they can take care of these vulnerable section, that is the migrant workers. So that is the main aim. It is the first ever national database of unorganized sectors, and it aims to provide a platform for the workers and employers and for the government to implement specific programs for the migrant workers. Okay, so the Ministry of Labour and Employment has envisaged the development of the national database of unorganized workers seeded with the Aadhaar. So even the Ministry of Labour will also be taking care of this, and it helps the workers to share information so that the government can come to the rescue in need. Okay? So these are the important things which we need to know in this migrant workers. So that's it guys for this lecture. I'll see you again in the next lecture. Till then, keep studying and stay tuned. Jai Hind.